I was actually here in '96, and actually during the Euro Cup '96, and it was actually I think it was like one of your most warm summers. I think it was a heat wave during that time. So this is a mild difference compared to what I experienced the first time.
Obviously, 3-week turnaround from your last fight. What have the last 3 weeks been for you?
Heavily cardio, a lot more wrestling, kind of making sure my body stayed in shape. Not much sparring just because I didn't want to take a chance of getting cut, kind of like Linton did. But really, it's been more the same. My body feels great. I feel ready to go. That's the way it is, brother.
Obviously, you got medically cleared, so there are no issues there, from any medical advice and stuff like that. But did you at least appreciate the concern the MMA community had for you fighting after getting knocked down in that fight?
Yeah, but I found it really highly hypocritical, actually. From my time when I was on Ultimate Fighter, I had a slobber knocker with Scott Junk, and I felt like I had a little bit of mush out with that, and then I was supposed to fight a week later, and everybody's calling me a pussy and everything else under the sun. And then, in a couple weeks later, or fast forward a couple years, I pass all my neurological tests, all my concussion exams, all my everything, and I'm saying I'm fine, and then I'm called, and then everybody's like exponentially worried about me and whatever else. I just found it remarkably hypocritical. Maybe that's a sign of progression in our society of 7 years, period. But I think that people find something to be outraged by all the time, and I think it's just a crack of shit. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the good intent. But for those that are just looking for something to be outraged, find something else. I'm not that guy.
How was your overall experience making your Bellator debut?
I thought it was nice, actually. It was a different world for sure. It was a couple different experiences, but I felt that the professionalism was roughly the same. Minus obviously a couple of degrees of separation here and there, but I was impressed. I thought that Mr. Coker did a really good job as far as putting on a good show. And I thought that the Bellator production team behind it, I thought did a fantastic job with everything they did.
So going into this fight on Saturday, you're fighting Oli Thompson. What did you think of him as your next opponent going into this fight?
He's just a guy. That's all. That's what I think of him. That's what I still think of him.
Did you know much about him?
I knew he lifted heavy things off the floor, and carried them around. I mean, for people like doing that, that's awesome. But I mean, to me, that shit's heavy. I don't want to do that. So I'm good for him.
Well, going back to the Ultimate Fighter, obviously Kimbo Slice was meant to headline this card.
Yeah.
Can you just share thoughts, memories, how he'll be remembered, given the fact that he was meant to fight this fight that night?
It's really unfortunate that everything happened with him. He was a really good dude, man. Like a genuine personality, and he was kind of cast into a role of a thug, and maybe his entourage or whatever else didn't help his persona. But I think that as a person, he was a really good dude. He was a loving, doting father, was a good husband, and it's unfortunate. I hope that he was able to put away enough money to keep his family safe and secure going forwards.
Speaking of money, I don't want to segue into this, but obviously the UFC just got bought for $4 billion. What was your reaction to that?
That the fighters are worth a hell of a lot more than what they think they are, and I hope they figure that out sooner or later.
I mean, is there anything that the UFC fighters can do at the moment?
There's all kinds of things they can do at the moment, but it's up to them. I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? So, if you're fighting for nickels, then you should be fighting for dollar bills. That's your fault. And like I said before, nobody's going to care about your paycheck if you don't care about your paycheck.
Did that help coming into this fight, knowing that I'd like to think that you were getting paid more than you would be if you was currently fighting for the other organisation? Did that help you make the decision to take this second fight so soon after?
No, not at all. I say all the time, I've said it my entire life, my entire career, that I want to be as active as possible. I'm 37, I'll be 38 soon, and the wheels are going to fall off, and I don't want the wheels falling off while I'm sitting on the sidelines, and that's the way I really feel. And I'm spry, I'm healthy, man. I look good, so let me be out there and be the ham that I am, be the entertainer that I am. Don't keep me on the shelf.
So what did you do differently in the lead up to this fight, considering that in effect you had back-to-back camps? Was there anything different you did apart from the cardio you mentioned?
Yeah, it was more the same. Just make sure I ride my bike as much as possible. That's how I ride. That's how I do my cardio and get my cardio in, is by riding a bike, like a racing bike or a street bike. And really that was it. Like I just made sure I didn't get punched in the face. Made sure, and even if I did a little bit of mush head, that just make sure that everything was cleared out. All the cobwebs are gone by that time. But it's kind of more the same. Just make sure that your body stays healthy and get to the fight. That's all.
Matt, K1 here. Welcome to England and the rain. People sometimes forget that you're not just a fighter, you're also a normal human being, a family man. Your boy is behind us right now.
Yeah.
What's it like traveling the world with your family and young ones, and how they look up to you compared to when you were younger?
It's a great feeling that he's finally, my oldest Jacob, is finally old enough to be able to come on these trips with me and to kind of experience the world. Like after this fight, win or lose, regardless of what happens, we're going to jump over to Scotland and Ireland and then head over to Iceland for a handful of days. And I just wanted to be able for him to enjoy and experience that and see like what my life is like on a regular basis. He knows, like I really have a really interesting split life. I have a life where I live in a town of 30,000 people where my career is kind of shunned and not spoken about because it's an academic area, and then I have a life where I travel the world and do all kinds of crazy awesome shit, and they're really completely separate. And my children know my life on camera, but they don't know my life in person. As far as my professional life.
When they were younger?
Yeah, I was away training a lot when I was in Florida, but also like I choose not to bring them to my fights or to my events, just because it's such a potentially such a bloodthirsty crowd. If things go wrong, if they go haywire, they're stuck there. They can't get away. They can't turn the channel or turn the TV off. So it's a different perspective for them. And so this is going to be the first time any one of my children, even my ex-wife, has been at a fight. So I think in that situation it's interesting for me and it's interesting for him that he can actually get an experience. Like this morning I had a photo shoot and the shit talking interview this morning, and so he was sleeping through it, but if he was able to wake up in time, I would have brought him down to that so you could see how it goes, the production side of stuff, and kind of see the questions they ask, how they pose it, and how you re-answer stuff. Just kind of get like media training on a personal level.
Yeah, on the subject of media training, you're quite the media darling in the offensive the last couple of months over there stateside.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was your last fight, which some might have questions about how you're going to deal with Oli Thompson's power. You've mentioned that you he used to lift heavy stuff.
Yeah. But
Oli Thompson, fighter, how much you know about his fighting career?
I know enough about it. I know that my coaches watch a significant amount. For me, it doesn't really matter. I'm the variable, not him. So I do what I do, and I don't have to play with any shiny new toys that I did in my Carl fight, which got me dropped. I switched right-handed in the middle of that fight, or 29 seconds into the fight, I switched right-handed and got dropped in 31 seconds. So I think that just stay with what got me here, stay left-handed, and give Oli fits. That's all there is to it until he decides he wants to quit.
Obviously, growing up in America, you guys have wrestling in your schooling system, so that's obviously comes very natural to you. With Oli, is there anything you might, thinking that he's British, might take him down, mess him around the floor, or just stand with him and trade?
I'm a stand-up guy. I throw center blocks. So if somebody wants to trade off with me, cool. I'll go out on my sword. I'll go out on my shield. Doesn't matter to me.
Because the UK fans would love it if you stand and trade, especially with Oli, because he bangs people out.
I tried one takedown in my career. I will never try another takedown again, unless something goes horribly haywire wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't foresee that happening.
Well, confident of any particular round you're going to finish him in?
No, I'm just going to put hands on until he decides to quit.
One last question. Obviously, you were hanging out with Joe Shilling quite a bit the last event. It didn't quite go his way.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on his fight that he had?
On his what?
On his rematch from the last fight, his last loss. Dynamite 2.
Yeah, I think Joe's a professional. Joe chose to fight that fight the way he did, and he went on his shield. I respect him. He's a friend of mine, and that's the way. That's the way he wanted to approach it. And I'm proud of him.
Yeah, he's unlucky. It's just one of those things that just happens. Also, Kevin Ross went the distance. I interviewed Kevin before that fight. What do you think of Kevin's performance there?
I think Kevin is a technician and he's a hell of a fighter. I think he's got a firm grasp on everything that he's doing as far as his profession, and I think that he's a treat for the fans to watch.
Obviously, some of the fighters, the British fighters, they come from a stand-up background.
Yeah.
And the UK, especially in our Thai scene, it's very strong. It's up there with the best in the world. How much, when you transfer stand-up compared to MMA with what Bellator did up with the Dynamite events in the US, how is that being perceived by putting on a handful of kickboxing fights in the middle of an MMA fight? How are you finding that the American public are dealing with that, learning from that? exposure?
I don't know. I haven't had a whole lot of exposure to it, and I haven't had a chance to kind of really sit back and analyze or address or talk to people about it because I went from one camp to another. So I kind of go in my own little world when I'm training for a fight. So I don't know. I think I'd have a better answer in a month or two after this one, unless I'm fighting immediately again.
Cool. Good
How's
stuff.
the
Good luck.
broadcasting going for you? You've obviously done some, K1 broadcasting for Bellator. How's that going for you?
I don't know. It's up to you guys to tell me how it's going. I know I speak too fast sometimes, and I'm rather excitable. So, but I think that's kind of my brand. I'm not a cookie cutter guy. I'm an emotional, somewhat knowledgeable person that can spew out a whole bunch of words per minute. So maybe I slow that down to keep my personality. I don't know. I think it's up to you guys to tell me how I'm doing.
Is that the future for the long term after your career's over, do you reckon?
I mean, sure. Maybe I'll, if I could easily be out of the limelight for the rest of my life and just be dad. I could be a firefighter at Purdue University that has no age limit, and I could just be home all the time. So it doesn't really matter. I'm fortunate where I've been blessed with some talents, and if things work out where I can capitalize on that, sure. And I don't lose events and opportunities and situations with my kids, then yeah, I'm diggity down. Sounds great. But I won't sacrifice time with my babies anymore. I did that long enough already.
But putting your analyst hat on for a second, how do you break down the main event between Douglas Lima and Paul Daly?
I think that's pretty interesting. I think that Lima's had a long layoff. I think Paul Daly's is obviously got thunder in his hands. He's got some remarkable knockouts with that left hook, and I think that it'll be a creative fight. I think it'll be fun to watch. It'll be a fan-friendly fight for sure.